Beyond that region, we achieve the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu lives. Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Narani Haripriye Vanshakaladubhyascha Vivasindubhya evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dhruva Maharaj thus surpassed the 7 planetary systems of the great sages who are known as Saptarishi. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu lives. Ukalayam Shashvatam Natpabanti Mahatmana Samsajini Paramamikata. In the Gita, Lord Krishna explains that one who has taken to the path of bhakti and surrenders to him no longer takes birth in this temporary world which is full of miseries, and he achieves the highest perfection. Advamabhuvanaloka punor-bhavati vajana mamupeta tukoteya punaracana. From the highest planet in this material world down to the lowest. They're all places where suffering is imminent, because everything is temporary. The one who attains his abode never takes birth again in this material world. Padam padam yaki padam nakesha. That intelligent people make their only goal in life the spiritual world, not this place where there is danger in the atmosphere. The dangers of this world cannot be avoided, whoever we may be. But how we respond to the dangerous predicaments we are put in this world is what determines whether we remain here, birth after birth, or whether we are liberated from the tragedies of material life. Therefore, the great sages explain in Vishnu Purana that the greatest tragedy in all creation is to take this human form of life and to waste one precious moment of that life in pursuit of material existence. After evolving through millions and millions of lives, we get this opportunity of human form. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this to Sri Rupa Goswami. And in this human form, it's very, very rare to achieve the association of a true Vaishnava. Because that devotee places the seed of bhakti in our heart. By carefully watering that seed and protecting it, and chanting the holy names and following regulative principles in the association of devotees, we can transcend all of the dualities of this material creation. So this is our purpose. Kamasya nendriya priti labo jivitya jivasya tattva jigyasya narato yaschena kama. Life's desire should never be aimed towards sense gratification. One should desire a healthy life or self-preservation, where a human being is meant to inquire into the nature of the absolute truth. Only this should be the goal of one's works. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would often say, according to our Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, that every single one of his disciples could perfect their life in this one life and go back to Vaikuntha. Grihastas, brahmacharis, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, men, women, children. He said every single one of his disciples could attain Vaikuntha in this very life. No need to take birth again to continue on in this life. If they simply were sincere and serious, as Dhruva Maharaj was serious. Dhruva Maharaj was just a child of 5 years old. His mother, who was such a virtuous, kind lady, was willing to sacrifice even the personal affectionate dealings that she had with her son for her son's spiritual benefit. She informed him that if he goes to the forest, he could attain the goal of all his desires and meet Lord Vishnu. And he left. We have forests here at New Vrindavan. And even if a child goes in the forest here and doesn't come home that night, how much the parents would worry. But these forests, the worst there is maybe a raccoon that can walk by. And even they don't bother anyone unless you bother them. But the forest that Dhruva Maharaj went to, this jungle, there were tigers, lions, many, many venomous serpents, panthers, scorpions. But Dhruva Maharaj was determined. He didn't even concern himself where he will get anything to eat, where he will sleep. He was fixed. The name Dhruva means one who is fixed, determined, does not waver in his purpose in life. The tendency is that even when we take to the path of bhakti with determination, over a period of time, Maya presents so many facilities, new opportunities we never expected, various obstacles. The obstacles may be very pleasing obstacles of temptations and opportunities to enjoy. The obstacles may be very life-threatening. That if I just give up the path, how easy life will be. But Dhruva Maharaj was tested in every way, but he maintained his sincerity and determination. Of course, we cannot imitate Dhruva Maharaj. But if we want to achieve Krishna consciousness, it is essential that we must follow his footsteps. That means we must be determined. We must have our goal, and we must not allow anything to distract us from that goal. Bahunam janmanamate jnanadhamam papadite vasudeva sarvamiti samahaprasam. After many, many births and deaths, one may finally come to the platform of surrendering to Krishna, knowing Him to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So Dhruva Maharaj, 5-year-old child, had this kind of determination. In 6 months, he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Prabhupada gives the example of Maharaj Katbanga. He realized God in a moment. He was a great king. He was petitioned by the demigods to help them to fight against the asuras. And he fought so valiantly, so selflessly, that they wanted to give him a reward. They said, you can ask any benediction you like. Whatever we have the power to give you, we will give you. That means he could have taken all mystic powers. He could have gone to any heavenly planet to enjoy. He was offered any facility within the 14 worlds. But he was a great devotee. He didn't want to ask for anything that would be prone to infatuate him in material pride. He was so humble. He knew that they could not give him the benediction to go back home, back to Godhead, because demigods do not have that power. So he asked for the one thing that they could give him that would facilitate his going back to Godhead. Because the demigods, they have their best astrologers. And their astrologers are not like the astrologers in Kali Yuga, where every 3 astrologers have 3 different opinions. He asked, tell me the moment that I'm going to die. They came back with their calculations and told him, you will die in the next moment. He came to this earth planet knowing it's the most suitable place for self-realization. Not so many distractions as the heavenly ones. And he fixed his mind on the Supreme Lord. And in that one moment, he perfected his life and went back home, back to God. Because he was sincere. He really, honestly and earnestly did not want anything of this world. If at the time of death you really do not want anything of this world, but you want Krishna, then you're guaranteed to go back to Krishna. If we remember Krishna at the time of death, we will attain him without fail. However, yam yam bhapi smaran bhavam tijajante kalena tantam evarti konteya sadata bhavavarata. If you remember anything else at the time of death, you will attain that. So, Maharaj Katbanga achieved that perfection in a moment by just concentrating his mind on Krishna. Because he really didn't want anything else. He was sincere. Now Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted Krishna, but he wanted Krishna to fulfill his material desires, which Srimad Bhagavatam explains that whether you are full of all material desires, or whether you want liberation, or whether you have no material desires at all, if you just worship Krishna, you will become purified, and somehow or other you will get Krishna. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam vatopi va yasmarit pundarikaksham sabhayatnatara suchi. Because Krishna is pure. Purified or unpurified, or even having passed through all situations of life, one who remembers the beautiful lotus-eyed personality of Godhead becomes purified within and without. By chanting the holy names, by associating with devotees, by hearing the glories of Lord Krishna from the holy scriptures and from the Vaishnavas, we gradually become purified. But it is as gradual or as fast as our sincerity. And in this sense, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he's talking about sincerity, he's talking about determination, a fixed purpose, a goal. Never losing sight of that goal. You know the story about when Dronacharya was testing the various skills of his to see who was the best archer. He had a little model of a bird on a tree. He told one of the students, shoot the eye of the bird. He aimed. Drona said, what do you see? Tell me everything you see. I see the bird. I see the trees behind the bird. I see the eye of the bird. Put down your bow. Next to me, come. What do you see? I see the eye of the bird. Do you see anything else? I see his head. I see his feathers. Next to me. Arjuna came forward. Aimed his bow. What do you see? I see the eye of the bird. Do you see anything else? Absolutely nothing else. All that's in my vision is that eye. Shoot. He won the competition. So this is the type of determination that is required. Yavashayatmaka buddhir eke hakurunandana bahushakahyanantascha buddhayo vivashaya. Those who are on this path, they are resolute in purpose, their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, those whose minds are irresolute, many branch. This material energy is constructed in such a way to keep our minds and our intelligence many branched. We try to chant japa. We try to fix our mind on the holy name. But how many various branches does our mind and intelligence go to? Even that 1.5 to 2 hours that's sacred only for Krishna. We have the whole rest of the day to figure out our other services, our other duties, and everything else. Worry about life. But this particular time is exclusively dedicated to worship Krishna. Kalikale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. He has appeared within his name. The most merciful of all incarnations of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's given us the most merciful of all means to achieve it, the chanting of the holy names. Nam Avatar is the most accessible and most merciful. Nam Namakari Bahudani Cha Sarvashaktis Tatrapitanyam Tasmaranina Kala Etadrisita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Duradaiva Idrisi Ideshami Haji Naravaka. Sri Mahaprabhu has told us that all the power, glory, beauty, and leelas of the Lord are within his name. But still, when we chant the name, our concentration goes in so many various directions. What is the sign of sincerity? That wherever that mind wanders, we bring it back. That's determination. Prabhupada explained, what is the difference between Goswami and Gaudas? Everyone except the Paramahamsa Vaishnavas have material desires, to one degree or another. A Gaudas is distracted by those material desires and tries to fulfill them. And a Goswami says, no, I want Krishna. Samsudin Haridoshanam. The purpose of my life is to please Krishna, not to please these senses and this mind, or the expectations of this egoistic world. To please Krishna. Sripad Madhavendra Puri, he offered a prayer. He's worshiping Krishna, but the people of the world, his friends, his relatives, they think he's a madman. They think he's crazy. They think he's wasting his life. But he said, I don't care. He was compassionate and loving toward every living being, but he didn't care what everyone thought. He only thought what Krishna thought, and what Guru Maharaj thought, and what the great Vaishnavas expected of him. Guru Maharaj, in those 6 months, he performed such severe tapasya. But our acharyas tell us, in the age of Kali, if we tried to perform the tapasyas that he did, 1 month, he was only eating the dry leaves that fell to the ground. He wouldn't even pick them from the trees. Then he was drinking only a little water. Then he was only breathing a little air. And he stopped breathing air. He was standing on one toe, controlling his mind, his breath, his everything. But the whole while he was doing all these tapasyas, according to his Guru Maharaj's instruction, he was chanting the name of Lord, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, with his mouth, with his mind, and his heart. You see, simple tapasya does not purify. It's pleasing the Lord that purifies. And that should be our determination. One of His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj's favorite stories is from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. That brahmachari who approached Srivas Thakur and said, please, just once let me come into your home and see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dance. That beautiful golden form of Gauranga, I have heard. Once seeing his dance will purify one's heart forever. Please let me in, even for a minute. That will be the perfection of all my desires. He didn't want anything else but that in his life. Just to see the Lord dancing. Srivas said, this is very difficult. Only the most intimate associates of the Lord is allowed to come in to see his dance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would preach to the common people. But at that time, he never came out to dance publicly because he would exhibit such ecstasies of love that common men could not understand it. And not only that, but his associates were so pure and so sincere that they had no other ambition in life than to please him by chanting and dancing. If any little material desire was present, he would have disrupted the purity of the environment of their kirtan. One time, Srivas Thakur's mother-in-law, she wanted to see the dance. But she had all kinds of material desires. So she hid in a secret place. When the kirtan began, Sri Gauranga stopped the kirtan. He asked Srivas, is anyone here? There is some material vibration in this atmosphere. Someone has some material motive here, and therefore we cannot experience the ecstasy of real kirtan ras. Is anybody here? They looked, they found no one. Again they tried to have kirtan. Mahaprabhu stopped. Is anyone here? Somebody is here, find them. They looked again, and there was the mother-in-law. Srivas Thakur immediately had someone take her outside. And it was nice kirtan. This was the standard of Mahaprabhu. He wanted his devotees to be super excellent in their purity of purpose. To be his associate, that is what is required. But yet, on the streets of Navadvip, he would invite everyone, even the most sinful Jagai and Madhai, to become purified so they could come to that state. So Srivas Thakur explained to this Naistika Brahmachari that I know you're very sincere, you're very austere. In fact, you only drink milk. You don't take any food. But it's very difficult. He doesn't allow people in. He would come every day. Srivas respected this person so much. Finally, he said, all right, I will put you in a secret hiding place, and you can watch. No one knew he was there. Lord Chaitanya began his kirtan. He danced beautifully. Then he stopped it. Someone is in this house that is not supposed to be here. I am not experiencing the love of Krishna. Who is here? Srivas, is anybody here? Srivas said, there is no atheist here. There's no gross materialist here. But there is one brahmachari here, but he's a very nice, he's very simple, he's very pure in heart, very humble. In fact, he doesn't eat, he only drinks a little milk. He was longing to see him dance. Sri Gaurasundar became furious in ecstasy. He lifted his fingers and said, get him out of here immediately before I destroy him. I will have no milk drinkers in this kingdom. Only those who have pure unalloyed devotion can be here. Get him out immediately. He was talking with such tumultuous voice that the brahmachari was trembling in fear. Right in front of the Lord and the devotees, he got up and left the house, walked through the room, went outside. As he was walking, he was thinking, the Lord has given me suitable punishment. It's true. I am proud of my austerities. I'm not worthy. He's so merciful. He has given me his kind punishment. But at the same time, I did see his dancing for a few seconds. Somehow or other, when he was put in a condition of great danger, he turned to the Lord with sincere devotion, and he saw the Lord on that very day. So you should know. Only by bhakti, no other way, can one enter into the kingdom of God and see me as I am. So Krishna, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, blessed this brahmachari and gave him pure love. Why? Ultimately because he was very dear to Srivas Thakur. And Srivas Thakur wanted to help him so much that the Lord gave him all mercy. So we should not think that becoming a great preacher, becoming a great ascetic, becoming a great manager, or any other service we perform, that will entitle us to see Krishna. But when we are really sincere and we perform these various services with the single pointed desire to please Krishna, to please Guru, to please Vaishnavas, when we fix the goal of life, like the pole star, Dhruva Maharaj went to the Vaikuntha Loka, which is within this universe in the form of the pole star. It never moves. It's fixed. Dhruva Loka. All the other planets are moving around, but that planet never moves. Just like Dhruva's determination. Never moves. Never wavers. So we cannot do the tapasyas that Dhruva has. But if we simply follow the simple instructions of chanting sincerely, following the regulative principles, and trying to just be the servant of the Lord, if we can just do that sincerely throughout our life, we will attain the spiritual world. That is the promise. Once Srila Prabhupada told the devotees, you have to be 100% Krishna conscious to go back to God. Devotees became very depressed. He saw them. He said, 90% Krishna conscious. They were still very, 80% Krishna. Ultimately, Prabhupada said, you just be sincere and I'll take you back to God. Ananyas chintayantam yejana paribhashate tesam nityabhiyoktanam yogakshemaham. If we're just sincere, Guru and Krishna, they will carry what we lack and preserve what we have. So let us meditate on this instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that every one of his disciples, and this means his grand disciples too, everyone has the capacity to go back to Godhead in this very life. If they are simply sincere, following in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj, fixing our goal in life, and struggling and striving with all earnest means to keep our mind directed toward that goal. Serving Krishna, loving Krishna. But in order to do so, we have to be convinced that that's what we really want. Therefore, we must every day hear Bhagavatam and serve the great devotees of the Lord. By doing that, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact within our heart. hearing the glories of the Lord and serving the devotees, as well as chanting Harinam, you become more and more convinced that nothing of this world is really worth anything if it's not bringing me closer to Krishna. Just yesterday afternoon, I was telling a story about, we don't mention names so much in Srimad Bhagavatam class, about one dear friend of mine who lives in Venice, Italy. And his job is he takes VIPs from all over the world on tours of Venice. Venice is one of the most famous tourist places in the world. All those canals and ancient temples and buildings. So many over the years of the most famous people, especially in America, go there. And he meets them at the airport, he drives them around, and takes them on those gondola boats. And he was telling me about some of the people. The most famous couple, the most famous ladies of the time. They were the idols of America. They were what every ordinary American wanted to become like. When they got married, it was like a perverted reflection of the Ganges and Jamuna coming together. It was two such great, powerful people coming together in marriage. And the whole world was watching them. Everything they would do was such a glamorous situation. I remember as a child, everyone was talking about them. Anyways, he was telling me what they were really like behind the scenes. At the same time, when the world is idolizing them, he said he was driving them in the car, and the whole time they were drunk. He said, just from the airport to Venice, which is only hardly an hour or two, they drank one bottle of gin each. And they were screaming at each other, and swearing at each other, and abusing each other like he never saw anybody do. It was an ugly, horrible scene. And the whole time they were on the gondolas, whatever you call it. It's supposed to be a very romantic scene with the man throwing. And somebody's in the back playing some traditional Italian guitars, mandolin, singing Italian love songs. And they were just fighting the whole time, drinking liquor and fighting, showing their teeth like dogs at each other. Hare Krishna. So they had millions and millions of dollars, fame, beauty. Janmaishwarya Shruti Shubir Edamanamadapumana Varhati Pitatum Paitwama Kinshana Gocharam. They had incredible beauty. They had strength. They had incredible wealth. They were very, very famous. But they were miserable. Because nothing materially can bring real happiness. When the heart is frustrated, whatever you have cannot satisfy you. Srivas Thakur, that Lady Shuki, she was just a very, very poor, poverty-stricken type of a maidservant. She just wanted to please the devotees and started bringing water from the Ganges for Lord Chaitanya's devotees to bathe them. Her name was Duki because she was in such a miserably impoverished condition. But when Mahaprabhu saw, in her simple condition, nobody knew who she was. Unknown, insignificant, with nothing, but she was trying to do a little service. She was serving the devotees. Mahaprabhu looked at her and brought everyone's attention to her. Today her name will be Sukhi, means very happy. This name Dukhi does not sit properly in my heart. She's a devotee. And he right then, on the spot, in that moment, gave her love of God. She didn't even have to go to the forest for 6 months like Dhruva. She got it instantly. Because she was sincere. So just be sincere. And you will attain the spiritual world. Whoever we are, every one of my disciples, it is said by Bhaktisiddhanta, can go back to Vaikuntha in this very life. If we are simply sincere. So we hear stories from Srimad Bhagavatam about Dhruva Maharaj because we want that sincerity. But how do we get it? To hear about those people and to associate with those people who have it. And to serve them, to follow in their footsteps. Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Pundi Tiratana Seva. By serving the great souls, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity to hear the message of Vasudeva. And that will attract us. The message of the Supreme Personality of God and His words, His pastimes, will attract our hearts away from all of the sources of misery in this world. So we must do whatever is required and associate with those people and read those literatures that will improve the quality of our sincerity. Because if we are just sincere, Prabhupada would tell us this, just be sincere about executing Krishna consciousness. That's all He asks from us, whoever we are, and He will bring us home. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Srimati Kunti Devi?
Duki.
Oh, Duki. To be a humble servant of the devotees.
It's not guaranteed, you have to do that for a lot of births.
Not if you do it sincerely. If you do it with sincerity, as Sukhi did, then you will go back to Godhead in this very life. But Mukunda Dat, he was not in your mood. He was thinking that even if it takes millions of births to attain Krishna, and I have to surrender everything, focusing my mind without deviating for a second for millions and millions of births, it's worth it. But because he had that desire, Lord Chaitanya, that humility and that patience, Lord Chaitanya gave it to him immediately. Sukhi did not demand it. Mukunda Dat did not demand it. They were just willing to be sincere. However long it is, I'm just going to be sincere. And because they had that kind of faith and that kind of surrender to the will of the Lord, they got it immediately. If we want it now, it will never come. But if we're just sincere, you'll get it now. Does that answer your question? The great souls never look for such free tickets. This is an American mentality. They're looking for service. The astronauts come, Sunanda and Nanda take you on that journey back home, back to God. Is there any other guess?
You mentioned that if we increase our hearing and chanting, we can solve our material problems. And sometimes when material problems come, due to conditioning, we think that if we solve them materially, they will be solved. But we get more and more in chanting. How can we increase our faith if we increase our hearing and chanting?
When the spider is trapped in the web, or when the spider traps the fly in his web, the web is constructed so expertly by the spider that the more you try to get out, the more you become trapped. The more the fly moves, the more he becomes wound up in the web. If you've ever seen an enthusiastic fly, after a couple minutes, you don't even see him. There's just a ball all around him of webs. The only way the fly could possibly get out is if somebody outside takes him out. He cannot get out by his own efforts. The more he tries, the more he becomes bound up. Krishna created the spider in his web to teach us all exactly the situation we're in. He has created this web. It's interesting how computers, they call websites. Computers are like websites. The more you use them, you more become addicted to them. You can't give them up. But some devotees are serving Krishna very nicely, knowing that people are like this. So, we are entangled in a web of material modes of nature. And the more we try to solve our problems, the worse the problems become. Prahlad Maharaj tells us that the solution to our problems, the result, is a bigger problem than the original problem. Just like the devotees were telling me about these caterpillars that are all over at Vrindavan. They're called gypsy moths. You've all seen them. They're everywhere. Actually, Dr. Fred Prabhu was telling me the whole story. I'll try to repeat his words. He told me that once he was driving through Pennsylvania and an entire forest was devastated by these little caterpillars. Yes? There was no leaves on any trees. The trees were dying. And here at New Vrindavan, so many trees are being destroyed by these caterpillars. Do you know how they came about? There's no ordinary insects that do this kind of damage. Some years ago, some scientists were working for some very greedy materialistic people who were in the silk industry. Correct me. All right? They were in the silk industry and they wanted to create the strongest, best quality, all-purpose silk. So they mated different type of caterpillars to get the best possible silk. It's completely unnatural. Nothing within the realm of what God originally intended. So through these scientific processes of making the perfect caterpillar to make the perfect silk, which would be of such benefit to all humanity, The result was gypsy moth. The silk is totally useless. Can't be used for anything. But because they're not within the natural chain of the environmental, ecological balance, their numbers grew artificially with no predators. Nobody wants to eat them. Other caterpillars, they don't cause too much disturbance because birds and other animals eat them because they taste nice, because they're all natural. But this gypsy moth has all sorts of artificial flavors and preservatives, pesticides and everything else. It's not natural. No bird will eat it, no cat will eat it, nobody. They don't even look at them. So they've grown, they've multiplied, and now practically every state, man spends millions and millions and millions of dollars a year to try to control them, and they can't. Hare Krishna. Why not just listen to Prahlad Maharaj? Here at New Vrindavan, we have the biggest problem we have on our lands, not only New Vrindavan, but practically all over the nation. It's the multifloral roses. If you look, there's these ugly, terrible thorn trees that just grow like bushes and just multiply and fill up pasture lands, and they're so difficult to cut down. We had these types of thorn trees at our new farm in Maharashtra, New Govardhan town. 50 acres of these, nothing but these thorn trees. And they were so big and so thick. They're like trees. Now here in America, you get them down with these big, expensive machines. And even though we hire them sometimes still, about half of our pasture is totally wasted and useless because of them. And that's the case all over the nation. Our farm in Maharashtra, I think we hired 125 men with sickles. It took them 6 weeks working day and night to cut these trees down. And practically days after, they start growing again. No natural trees grow like this. Ecologically, everything's balanced nicely. One plant counteracts another plant. They all keep everything in check. But there was a problem. The problem is it takes so long to make fences around our pastures and around our gardens. So some nice, intelligent scientists decided we're going to make a solution to the problem. What we'll do is we'll hybrid different types of thorn bushes and create a bush that's just like a fence, and we can just grow it all around our gardens and pastures. And unfortunately, what happens? They started growing wild everywhere and started taking over, consuming the gardens and the pastures. Now it's one of the biggest problems in the world. Nobody uses it for fence. Because once you have it anywhere, they multiply everywhere. This is right before our eyes. Walk out the door, you'll see the gypsy moths in the floral rose bushes. It should give us faith in Prahlad Maharaj's words. That the results of the solutions to the problems becomes a greater problem than the original problem. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but that is the law. So what is the hope of that little spider? Just to somehow or other call out to somebody who's outside to pick him up. And that's our hope. We're trapped. All we can do is try to please Krishna and attract his attention. sincerely with feeling chanting his name. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
if we can just chant sincerely and live sincerely, then Krishna will take us. Daivayeshu Gunamayi Mamamayata. He will take us out and bring us back home, back to God. Dhruva Maharaj didn't even try to go back to God, and he just kept the goal in his life to please Krishna. At one time he wanted to see Krishna, but then after, Krishna told him, be a grihasta, have children, run the kingdom, and he did it all. But he always had one purpose, only to please Krishna. Sincerely. Is there any other questions? Yes, Brad?
On chanting sincerely. When I start chanting, I start getting confused. What is that? What are we actually concentrating our mind on? What aspect of Krishna? I think about the deed or a picture of the devotees, and I kind of go around in a circle like that.
Yeah, because we could just beat the sound of the name. Nama Chintana Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The name of Krishna is the supreme, all-opulent form of the Lord in sound vibration. The name includes his form, his pastimes, his qualities. Everything is there within the name. We should concentrate on focusing our attention and taking shelter of the name. And if while we're chanting, if we're thinking of the deity, we're thinking of some Leela of the Lord, that is very nice, no problem. But that's not usually what happens. Just keep your mind fixed on Krishna through his name. Very simple. Very difficult to execute, but very simple in principle. But if we are sincere, if we really try our best, Krishna will be pleased and he will help us. We wouldn't be crying out with great humility, save me, Krishna. So it's actually very nice that it's so difficult, because it puts us in a state of mind where we realize how much I need mercy, even to do the simplest thing is to chant. And we should be chanting, crying out for that mercy. So every situation is a benediction that turns us in a more humble spirit to the mercy of Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.